TV Crazy Man here. In this video we go way back to the 1950s and 60s classic television to take a deep dive into Leave It the Beaver for amazing secrets, fun facts, and funny goofs you may have missed that were right there all along. Like this letter from Beaver's school teacher that you aren't going to believe. I mean, I read it and I still can't believe they put that on television.
Oh, I'm sure it's nothing like that.
Of course not.
And it was right there in front of our faces all along. And the coincidences behind this actor, Leave It the Beaver, and his future sitcom role on the Andy Griffith Show is just not to be believed. All this and much more from the most beloved sitcom of all time, Leave It the Beaver.
What's your name?
Theodore, but my friends call me Beaver.
In the Season 2 episode, Her Idol, Beaver gets into trouble at school and his teacher sends a letter that supposedly explains the situation to the Cleavers. Ward, played by Hugh Beaumont, is shown reading the letter and it even pops up on the screen. But what it really says will blow your mind, or maybe make you laugh just a little bit.
Oh.
I think I made out everything except for maybe one word. This paragraph has absolutely nothing to do with anything. It is here merely to fill up space. Still, it is words rather than repeated letters, since the letter might not give the proper appearance, namely to have an actual note. For that matter, all of this is nonsense, and the only part of this that is to be read is the last paragraph, which part is the inspired creation of the producers of this very fine series. Another paragraph of stuff. Now's the time for all good men to come to the aid of their party. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. My typing is lousy, but the typewriter isn't too hot either. After all, why should I take the blame for these mechanical imperfections? With which, all of us must contend. Lou Burdett just hit a home run, and Milwaukee leads 7-1 in the series. This is the last line of the filler material of the note. No, my mistake. That was only next to last. This is the last. And then the letter ends with something like, I hope you can find a suitable explanation for Theodore's unusual conduct.
I thought she might have made up something like that.
Beaver.
You know, I think the note shows the great sense of humor that they had back in the day, you know, working behind the scenes. In the episode, The Haircut, when Wally, played by Tony Dow, tries to fix Beaver's hair, things go from bad to worse. Luckily for Jerry Matters, who played the Beaver, he didn't really have to get his hair cut this way to do the scene. The little wrinkles that show up are due to the ball cap that Jerry Matters is wearing. You know, I remember seeing stuff like this when I was a kid, wondering if the actor really had to cut their hair like this.
Have you ever kissed any other married woman besides Mom?
Barbara Billingsley, of course, played June Cleaver, everyone's idea of a perfect mom. But if you watch really closely, you can see how even a perfect mom can get hurt in the kitchen.
And a man. I don't think it'll happen again. And a man. I don't think it'll happen again. Just to make sure, I buttoned it in his shirt pocket personally. I don't think it'll happen again.
In the episode, Cleaning Up Beaver, June says goodnight to Beaver and walks downstairs wearing something totally different. I kind of doubt that Mrs. Cleaver could have changed clothes that fast. As she looks back, is she looking back at the Beaver, or is she trying to figure out what happened to her dress?
At times, do you get the feeling of helplessness, frustration, and extreme rage?
In the episode, The Broken Window, the Cleavers are shown riding around with a real estate agent. But when we first see the car pass by, it looks like there's only one person in the car driving.
You unlock this door with the key of imagination.
Have you ever noticed the X-ray vision shots of a car interior back in the day? I looked and I couldn't find a picture of a behind-the-scenes studio filming of this, but it's apparent that what we're looking at is actually just half a car in a studio. There's no way a camera could get Ward's legs, for instance, if it was sitting on a dash, and movie cameras back then were pretty big, I'm sure. Also in this episode, The Broken Window, Wally and the Beaver use a knife to skillfully remove money without breaking the piggy bank. But is that some sort of removable plug I see? Gee, Wally, that might have been a whole lot easier way to get the money out.
Beat it and stop being such a wise guy, will ya?
You know, I get that a lot. In the episode, Tinting Tonight, Ward has to wait patiently for Wally to go back into the theater and get the gang. But while he's waiting, something strange is going on. You see this group of kids at the end of the scene? Well, there's definitely something really off about those kids. Okay, let's start over at the beginning of the scene. Okay, first there's this kid with a checkered derby walking next to a little girl in a checkered dress. And pay close attention to the boy with the ball cap on. And then there's this kid, probably just a tiny bit chubby by 1950 standards. And there's the girl again with the checkered dress and the boy with the ball cap.
Go on and get the guys out here now in a hurry, yeah?
Sure, Dad.
Say, what's that boy doing anyway? It's like he's either really confused or he realizes that people are going to realize he's been through here more than once already. Busted. No, wait, there's that chubby kid again. And there's that girl with the checkered dress again. Now talk about a ham, there goes the chubby kid again. And there's the kid with the ball cap again. And there's the kid with the checkered derby again. I think that's the second time, maybe third time. I'm losing count here. And yet another appearance by you-know-who. And another time about 30 seconds later. You know, this kid should have checked with his agent. He should have got top billing. He's made more appearances in this one scene than Wally or Beaver. And we better not forget Baseball Cap Kid. And then they all come out for one last time. I wonder if the man-beast from Mars was any good.
You spent over 6 hours today sitting in that stuffy movie theater.
How much do you think it cost for Beaver to spend 6 hours at the theater in 1958? Not counting whatever refreshments might have cost at the time. Was it $5, $2, 50 cents, or 35 cents? What do you think?
Yeah, they sure give you a lot for your 35 cents, don't they?
Congratulations if you guessed 35 cents, which means you probably were either alive back then or you're a really good guesser. On the episode Next Door Indians, while Ward is in the kitchen, there's no hood above the stove, and suddenly when Beaver walks in, it magically appears from out of nowhere. On the episode Beaver's newspaper, the coffee pot seems to be having babies. First it's sitting on a stove, June grabs it, she's pouring out coffee for Ward, and literally while she's pouring it, the coffee pot is back on the stove, while it's still in her hand.
Believe it or not.
On the episode Boarding School, Beaver can't seem to make up his mind which side of the tire swing he wants to sit as the boys have a conversation. Beaver keeps switching from sticking his head out the white wall side to sticking his head out the dark side, and back and forth. On the episode, Beaver says goodbye. In a clip of the playground, someone forgot to tell this kid that he's not supposed to act like he's on camera. Of course, if this scene were taken today, the kid would have his nose in a smartphone and he would never know he was being recorded, or even where he was. In the episode Beaver's Tree, Larry stands to recite a poem. Then he sits, and then he is seen still standing, while he is really sitting. On the episode Beaver's Fortune, Beaver takes his lunchbox out of his locker 3 times in less than a minute.
Why not? He was chicken.
Hi, Beaver.
Hi, Sonny.
On the episode Beaver Makes a Loan, you can see the shadow of a microphone for a large portion of the scene. It's either that or the shadow of one of those things from the Martian ships, and Beaver hasn't seen yet. On the episode June's Birthday, Beaver's class is singing with Beaver and Larry clearly standing behind 2 girls. But we are supposed to accept the idea that we are seeing Larry and Beaver like Superman would with X-ray vision. Or maybe the girls have just disappeared. I know you're not supposed to think of things like that, but obviously they had to move the girls out of the way for the close-up shots. Well, it's either that or...
We're up to our armor plates and another mystery.
On the episode Wally's Orchard, there's a huge wind blowing by that literally moves the wall around.
We just kind of like to look around.
Fine.
We just kind of like to look around.
Fine.
On the episode Beaver Finds a Wallet,
Money. Boy.
there's something fishy about the money. The bills apparently belong to some country named Studio. On the episode Beaver and Violet, June's fingernails are not painted, and then they're painted just a second later. On the episode Wally the Businessman, you have to wonder what Beaver's room is made out of. When he jumps on the bed, the whole windowsill starts shaking.
Well, son, I think you've learned something here.
On the episode Mother's Helper, Margie Manners is seen mopping with a sponge mop. But then Wally comes in and suddenly the mop is changed into a string mop. I wonder who the creep was that switched out her mop without her knowing about it.
What a creep.
Okay, Eddie. What are you pulling now?
On the episode, Eddie spends the night. What exactly is Eddie up to? It looks like he's trying to turn invisible handles or something.
Well, look, I'm putting the water in the sink.
Well, Eddie, it might help if you actually put your hands on the handles.
You're making this up. You got no proof.
On the episode, Beaver's Fear, the gang gets on a roller coaster ride, but somehow the guy in front of Wally and the Beav totally disappears. I guess they must have been using that Superman X-ray vision camera again. He's there, you just can't see him. Well, he does show up at the end of the ride, so thankfully we know he didn't fall over or fall out or something. Now here's some fun trivia facts I bet you didn't know. Well, I guess I should say I bet you don't know all of them, at least. Now here's a super coincidence that borders on something belonging on a Ripley's Believe It or Not show. On the episode, The Shave, Wally's barber is revealed to be Andy, who is played by Howard McNear, who actually very famously played a barber named Floyd on the Andy Griffith Show, who cut Sheriff Andy's hair a lot. But the neat thing is, Howard's role on that series didn't start until 1961, and this episode aired in 1958. The Andy Griffith Show didn't even exist until 1960.
Hi, Andy. Hello, Mr. Cleaver.
So how did Howard McNear play a barber named Andy? That's even stranger than if he would have played a barber named Floyd on Leave It to Beaver. When you think about it. Believe it or not. The Cleavers live in an American town named Mayfield. Despite arguments that have lasted for decades, no one seems to know which state it is in for sure. Some clues have pointed to, but not verified, a location, such as a mention of being 20 miles from the ocean, a mention of soda versus pop, a mention of an overnight trip to Freeport. Wally mentions Colts football team, and on it goes. But here's my theory. Could it be that Mayfield is really situated in the heart of
The Twilight Zone.
On the episode Mistaken Identity, Richard and Gilbert throw rocks at what looks like the Munsters' home. According to a few sources I read, it is, but it does look a little different on the Munsters intro, so I don't know. The episode aired April 8th, 1961. The Munsters TV series began in 1964, a few years later. The Munsters were actually produced by the creators of Leave It to Beaver, Joe Conley and Bob Mosher. And now for a couple of Superman connections to Leave It to Beaver. On the second episode of the first season entitled Captain Jack, they actually hijacked a Superboy comic book. They slapped a robot on the cover and added an alligator ad inside. The real comic book in question, I read at least, has been reported to be Adventure Comics number 240. Oh yeah, and this was the episode with the first ever sighting of a toilet tank on television. Right off the bat, Leave It to Beaver was causing all kinds of trouble. Back then, showing a toilet on television was a no-no. On the episode New Neighbors, Phyllis Coates guest starred. She played Lois Lane on the first season of The Adventures of Superman. From what I read, she was married to the director of Leave It to Beaver at the time. Her appearance was a few years after she had quit the Superman series. Hugh Beaumont guest starred in one of my favorite Superman episodes, The Big Squeeze, as an ex-con who just wants to live a normal family life, if his criminal past would just let him. I have to wonder if it wasn't Hugh's portrayal of a loving father here that might have gotten him the role of Ward Cleaver.
I hope you're as proud of your dad today as the rest of us are. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Hugh Beaumont was on an episode of The Lone Ranger as well.
I don't judge men by what's on their faces. I judge them by what's in their hearts. And I see nothing bad in yours.
I don't want you to go looking for trouble, but I don't want you to run away from it either.
In 2014, TV Guide ranked Beaumont's portrayal of Ward Cleaver at number 28 of the 50 greatest TV dads of all time. Personally, I think he should have been in the top 5 at least. Okay, how much do you think that these 2 bags of groceries cost to Cleavers in 1957? Was it A, $40.89, B, $12.15, C, $23.86, or D, $55? Think about it just for a second before we give the answer. Give up. The answer is
$23.86.
In 1983, a reunion movie was made entitled Still the Beaver. It featured the old cast except for Hugh Beaumont, who had passed away the year before. Afterwards, a new TV series with the old cast ran between 1984 to 1989. It was called The New Leave It to Beaver. In '97, a reboot feature film was created with a new cast, but with a few of the original castmates doing cameos. Unfortunately, the movie didn't do very well. What does Ward Cleaver do for a living? Well, what we do know is that he has a white-collar job and wears a business suit. He has a secretary named Grace, works during the day for a big trust company. Sometimes he has to do office work at home. His co-worker is Fred Rutherford, Lumpy's dad. Fred always refers to the office as the salt mine. According to IMDb, on the episode Beaver's Monkey, the monkey had ripped out Hugh Beaumont's arm hair, leaving a scar that stayed with him the rest of his life. According to what I read, the episode In the Soup, where the beaver gets trapped in a giant soup can on a billboard sign, cost $40,000 to produce, which was more than any other in the series. And Jerry Matters said this was one of his most memorable episodes because he really is afraid of heights. Please comment, let me know what you thought of the video.
But gee, Dad, I didn't think it was being dumb.
Share your memories of Leave It to Beaver. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and hit the like. I hope you enjoyed this look back at Leave It to Beaver.
It was the worst experience I ever had. I practically had...
And I hope you have a great week. If you're watching this during the holiday season, then have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.